Ryan here with Dark Rangers Inc. And this is my favorite type of episode. It's one where I get to showcase all of the amazing work that you guys are doing, because today we're going to announce the winner of our first annual Astrophotography Contest. Now, before you step away, because maybe you didn't enter, I would really encourage you to stay and really ask yourself, how does your work stack up, and where are the areas that maybe you need to improve in order to get the results that you're seeing the winners get? And if one of those things is processing, I have finally released my first full-length tutorial on Photoshop. The initial feedback has been great. We've already sold a good amount of copies of it, and there is a link in the profile to check it out. I can tell you that for under $50, or in this case, even under $30, there's nothing that you're really going to be able to buy that's going to allow you to improve your astrophotography images as much as you could by sitting down with a nice tutorial video and in an hour follow along with a workflow and really take your astrophotography to the next level. I find that I take my images in there at about the 80% mark after PixInsight and doing the initial processing. And that last 15 to 20% is really what allows me to elevate my images to a level that I'm happy with. And on that note, to show that I'm able to be vulnerable and put my work out there as well, because I know it is a big step for some of you guys to put your work out there and to be judged, because I am going to give some feedback on the top 15 images. I decided to do 15 instead of 10. There were so many phenomenal images, guys. Everybody that entered belonged in this contest. There was not one entry, and I truly mean this, guys. I'm a very genuine person. I'm not going to BS you. I wouldn't say this. There wasn't one image that I got that I was like, why is this in this contest? They were all solid. And the hardest part was actually not picking the winner or the top three. It was narrowing down like the 15 to 30 mark, and really there were so many that should have made the top 15, and I'll give you an example of it when we go over it. That was really the hard part. There were so many that were just like really good, above average stuff that I wanted to showcase, but for sake of time, and this is already going to be a longer video, I had to narrow it down to 15. I did expand from 10, but to show that I'm willing to put my work out there as well, I want to enter for your review and for you guys to vote. So I'm looking for you guys to give your feedback in the comments. I'm going to enter this one that I recently did. It's the California Nebula NGC 1499. I did post it on PixInsight for Beginners and on my Instagram, so some of you guys may have seen it. This is 60 hours of SHO data. I collected it from the backyard and I processed it this past week. And so because I'm going to be giving some positive feedback and some, constructive criticism, I'll go ahead and put one of mine out there for you guys to vote. I want you to tell me, hey, where would this place in your opinion, and what are the things that you liked, and maybe what's one or two things that I could improve. And what I love about this hobby is some of the things that I love about my images, other people hate, and vice versa. And we all have our own taste. And so I'm sure some of you guys will disagree with my placements, but I just want to make the blanket statement and a genuine statement that all of these images were really great. And I know you're all on different places in your astrophotography journey, but I'm really grateful for every single person that had the courage to go ahead and submit it with enthusiasm and pride. And every single person that entered, guys, you really had some great work to showcase, and you should be proud of yourself. So even if you didn't make this video, trust me, you're doing great work. Keep it up. It's just a matter of time. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. I did a PowerPoint presentation. One thing I didn't think about when I started this was how to catalog dozens and dozens of images, keeping it with the names and all of the description. When you come up with a contest, you don't think about the administrative details, but just like I did with my one-shot color guide, I just thought doing it in a slideshow presentation would be the easiest. And then for the top few, I will actually overlay it over the entire screen just so you guys can really see some of the details. So with that, we will jump into our PowerPoint presentation and go over the top 15 in our astrophotography contest and crown the winner, the second place, and the honorable effort award. that. We have the 15 spot with David Stern, and we'll get into that really quickly. But what I want to show you is that just with the Triangulum Galaxy alone, we have this rendition, which has great color, nice core, great stars. The only thing that kind of kept this one out was a little bit of green here, a little gradient in the background. And then this rendition, which had great background, a little bit of elongated stars, but awesome job on the galaxy itself. Both of these did a great job handling the core, which often gets blown out. They're composed well. They have the HA dust or HA nebula data in there. I mean, just fantastic images. And so just with the Triangulum alone, you can see how difficult this was. So if you did not make it into this top 15, there is a very good chance you had a phenomenal image. You just got edged out by the narrowest of margins. So I just want to throw that out there, guys. I appreciate you being vulnerable. And I'm going to say several nice things that I like about each image, but I think we are a community that's trying to get better at astrophotography. And the only way that we do that is that we are vulnerable and we do allow ourselves to get a little bit of constructive feedback just to put my work out there so that you guys can kind of rank that and give me feedback. And for those of you that didn't enter, that were worried, hopefully after you see the results, you'll be willing to do it. As you can see, if maybe wasn't up to the standard that you want, nothing bad happens. It, maybe didn't get featured, but there's no negative consequence to entering it. And hopefully some of you guys are surprised that you made it in the top 15. Maybe you thought, hey, I'm just going to throw this in here. It's a Hail Mary. And, maybe it got highlighted on the video. So with that, sorry for the long disclaimer. Let's go ahead and dive in. We have David Stern again with the 15 spot M33 Triangulum Galaxy. This was shot with a C8 with the Hyperstar. So a nice wide field of view, very fast scope with the 533 MC Pro. This was shot with the Antlia Tri-Band, which we all know and love. Great filter for galaxies. And you can see it did a nice job letting the star color in. It not only has the HA nebula and a really balanced core, but we're even seeing some greens and blues, like right in here, some other areas that are really nice. And you guys might not be able to see all of the faint details. For the top 3, I think I will overlay it, or maybe the top 5, I'll overlay them full screen. But for the sake of this one, to keep it moving, we'll do it in the slideshow format. And this was 5 hours of integration, 5-minute subs done in PixInsight with Lightroom and Photoshop. So guys, this is what it took just to make it on the video. Very, very great job here, and impressive image. All right, in the 14 spot, we have Justin Kautz with the Eagle Nebula. In SHO, 24 hours of data from a Bortle 5. That's the only way you're going to get this kind of detail with the Pillars of Creation. For those of you that don't know, this is a tiny, tiny target. To get this much detail in the pillars with only a 107 PHQ ASCAR is insane. I think that's a 600 or 700 millimeter scope. This was done with the 533 mm. So the last one was the color camera. This is the 533 mm. So you can see, guys, with a budget setup in terms of the camera, you can get phenomenal results. SHO filters. What I love about this is the Hubble palette. Not overdone, really nice and balanced, did a great job. The detail that you have and the ability to get this much life out of the pillars with that little a focal length is a testament to the amount of data you got and some great processing. Only piece of feedback I'd say is just the sharpening. You obviously have to have a lot of sharpening to get the details to show, but I would have maybe pulled it back a little bit. And I think it did affect some of the stars, because you can see the stars have that kind of sharpened look. So maybe do the sharpening and then add the stars back in. It's very close to being about the perfect amount, but just maybe pull it back just a hair. But otherwise, phenomenal image. And I'm really kind of blown away that you're able to get this much detail with that scope. So great job, Justin, at the number 14 spot. In the number 13 spot, we have Nicholas Rohn. This is a 4-panel mosaic done with a color camera, and it is with the Optilong L-Enhance filter. So I was able to get the narrowband kind of look with a filter that is 25 nanometers. What I like about this, we have nice crisp stars all the way to the corner. The background black was handled pretty well. I think this one could use a little bit more integration time, but I do like the amount of color that you did. You didn't overstretch it given how much you had. had, and I think the colors were done, tasteful amount, not oversaturated, not undersaturated, and, a pretty good composition. I did, in all fairness, turn this horizontal because with the landscape view of this video, if I did it vertical, it would have been absolutely tiny. And I just thought it was a cool image overall, and something that maybe with a panel up here and a panel up here, it could be something that would make a really nice framed image. All right, in the number 12 spot, we have the Orion Nebula by Eugene Miller. Great job getting some nice faint details here in the dust. This was done obviously with a reflector because we see these big diffraction spikes. It was, I believe, a Skywatcher 150 PDS and again, a 533 MC. And this one was done with an Optolong L Pro, and I knew it was done with a little bit of a filter because you see more of a pinkish reddish hue versus the very natural purple color that you'd get if you had no filter. Given the fact that this is done with a filter, the core is handled really well. The scope is obviously very sharply focused and collimated. The diffraction spikes are absolutely perfect. I don't know if you enhance them. They look like they might have been extended a little bit, but maybe not. And, just great detail, great dust. The only thing that I would say on this one is there is a little bit of a blue tint to the background. So if you take the curves and kind of drag the blue slider to the right a little bit, it would eliminate the blue in the shadows and help neutralize that. But otherwise, just a very, aesthetically good looking image, nice and zoomed in, good framing. I like that you have it kind of on a 45 instead of just straight vertical or straight horizontal. Great stars, and overall a very nice image. Orion's probably one of the easiest images to capture, but one of the hardest to perfect because of the huge amounts of dynamic range. So nice job, Eugene. All right, in the number 11 spot, we have Greg, and Greg has the Garlic Nebula, or Able 85, and this one made it because this is a very challenging target. It's very, very faint. This was actually done with a color camera and another 107 PHQ, so that scope's been doing good for you guys so far. And this one was this one was actually done in monochrome, my bad, sorry. I'm getting them a little bit mixed up. Really nice job on the colors here with the HA, very natural. This is kind of how the gas looks on this target. It's not that big, bright at you red. It is kind of a softer with this very subtle O3. You need to get quite a bit of O3 signal in order to get that to show. And then he did a nice job doing RGB stars. So I appreciate the effort on the RGB stars, as well as getting some of this faint dust here in the background. The only, probably feedback is I think, with even more integration time, we could have got a little bit more of this faint dust to pull out and probably reduce a little bit of the background noise and then just kind of cleaned up the background a little bit. But, stars are nice and crisp all the way to the corners. Great detail in this target, and it might not look as exciting maybe as Orion to those who haven't done it, but if you've done it, this is a very challenging target, and I absolutely do take that into effect when judging these. If a target is more difficult, it might not be as bright and sexy and cool to look at, but sometimes it's the skill involved in bringing out the target that counts. All right, and back to our Orion targets. This is the second and final one of Orion. This is what I was talking about with the really natural color in the nebula and the Running Man. Just a really picturesque image. This is done with 3 different lengths of exposure. So we have 6 seconds, 30 seconds, and 3 minutes to get this nice faint detail here in the Running Man, and also control the core with those shorter exposures. The only kind of negative on this one really is in the stars. They have kind of a blue cast to them, and I'm sure you're trying to increase the blue saturation to bring out the Running Man and this detail around Orion. So Brian, maybe just separate the stars if you can, if that was the cause, while you're increasing the saturation. But very nice natural colors of Orion. This is really what it looks like from a dark sky sight. So if you didn't do it from a dark sky sight, very impressive. Nice job, Brian, on the number 10 spot. All right, in the number 9 spot, we have Anna Moya, and again, a more difficult target in LDN 1295 and 1296. This is a very faint dust nebula, and what I like about this is you were able to really extract a lot of those faint details and bring them to life. Even these little specks down here, the stars are really nice. You guys probably can't see it on your end, but there's a lot of nice blues and oranges in the stars. They're very crisp all the way to the corners. This one was done with a 2600 MC and about 10 hours of data. I'm guessing it was done in Spain, so I know there's a lot of light pollution in Europe, but I'm guessing this was done from somewhat of a dark sky site to bring out all this detail. Background is really clean. There's not a lot of noise. It's just a clean, technically well done image. And really showcases a kind of more unique, lesser gone after target that's going to be very difficult. And, I just really like the look of this and wanted to kind of reward the effort that went into this and the really good processing skills it would take to make something like this look this nice and really pop out at you and be so visually appealing. I like the framing of it, and I think it was just a nice job overall, Anna, so well done. All right, in the number 8 spot, we have one from Down Under, from Rio in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. And for those of you in the north, if you don't recognize this, that's why. This is Eta Carina, whatever you pronounce it. And this one is similar to Orion in that the core is very easy to blow out. So Rodrigo did a really nice job kind of controlling that. Stars are really nice. They almost have like a little bit of a glow to them, which is really cool. And this is a pretty unique coloring of this image. I've done this with telescope live data and SHO, and mine had a lot more of the greens and blues from the Hubble palette. This was done with an L Pro filter, so you're going to see more of the natural HA gas color come through. Really nice job leaving a lot of stars in, but controlling the size. So there is a lot of really nice star field in here, but they are really pinpoint and small, so they don't take over, and it really lets the nebula shine through. Nice composition. There's stuff going on kind of all over, but still leaving some negative spaces, so you're not overwhelmed with the image visually. And I just think it's a really nice job overall, and a pretty good amount of data that went into this one. Almost 7 hours with a color camera. And Rodrigo, nice job. All right, number 7, another challenging target here in the Shark Nebula. It's almost like I go back and forth. I didn't do that on purpose, I promise. Very similar to Anna, similar feedback, being able to bring out a lot of the faint detail. This one just edged out a little bit more visually interesting to me with the shark. There's a couple different main nebulas going on here. Obviously one that was done with no filter, and from a Bortle 6, that's pretty impressive that you're able to get this much detail. This is a target that you're not going to want to use a filter with. This was shot with the 2600 MC and just the native UV IR cut filter and a Red Cat 51, which is a nice crisp scope. And the results show background's really clean, nice star color, and again, very, very well done for a Bortle 6. This is normally one you'd want to save for a dark sky site, and so you're able to do that. And 15 hours is going to be the main reason why. So you're going to need a lot of integration time if you are from, probably a Bortle 4 or above. And the effort paid off. Really nice processing. We've got the really cool blue reflection nebula in here, and then some nice orange stars here. I think this one, if you were able to get more integration time, there is a little bit more even blue reflection nebula that's hiding in there that you could maybe bring out if you were able to get a little bit more time on this one. But Danny, great job overall. Nice composition, very challenging target, and well done. All right, this one is from Jesus Hernandez, and this one officially wins the award for most integration. Not all on one. This is a 16-panel mosaic, and it's 250 total hours. So absolute monster of a project. I can't imagine the amount of time that this took to put together. 48 nights worth of data, according to his description, done in SHO. So very nice, a beautiful region of the Cygnus. You have so many popular targets. We've got the North American Nebula. We've got SH2, 115 and 116. We've got the Crescent. We've got the Butterfly. So many little targets kind of hiding in this area. And this is just a really insanely active portion of the sky, all this HA and O3 gas. And so just a very, wow, like in your face image. Just hats off to the amount of effort that this must have taken. The only kind of feedback that I would give on this one is just in terms of the saturation and the colors. I think, when we look at the honorable effort award, that is going to go to the person initially who had the most integration time but didn't win because of processing. That kind of is the case here, because I think if it was a little bit less saturated and processed maybe a little bit more naturally, this could have been a contender for the top spot. But in the spirit of that award and getting a 2-hour one-on-one tutorial, I think Jesus has shown that he is obviously very skilled in his ability to edit an image. I think just getting a little bit of feedback that maybe sometimes less is more, and maybe using the 2-hour time frame for somebody who's in a little bit more of a beginner spot, I think would probably be in the spirit of that award more so than this one, even though this technically does have the most integration time. So, Jesus, if you do want the time, let me know. But I do think you obviously are a very talented astrophotographer, and it's always easier to pull it back than it is to let it go. And some of you guys might think I'm crazy and might think this should win because you really like a bright, bold image and can appreciate all the effort that went into it. And that's why art is very subjective, but very powerful, impactful image, and just a monumental effort that went into this. So thank you for the submission. All right, next up we have SH2 115 and 116 that was featured in the previous target. Just so you guys know, that is right up here. So this would be a good map to kind of use for the contest. And this is a very challenging target, even though it does have some bright colors to it. I've done this one as well in monochrome. I left more of the SHO Hubble palette look, but what I really like about this is kind of the opposite feedback. This is left very natural, left a faint wispy gas. And this one does actually have a lot of color if you want to push it. It's almost harder to not over process this, but I really like this one. I like the composition of it. This is one of these is 15 and one of these is 116 in terms of the SH2. I don't remember which one is which. You really let the data speak. 7 hours of data. This is actually pretty impressive given not a huge amount of integration time. And I think one of the reasons is we have a really nice scope here in the Stellarvue SVX 130. If you guys are looking for a premium refractor, the Stellarvue is definitely a great option with the 2600 MC and the Optolong L Extreme. It may not look like it would be super challenging, but it really is to balance bringing out the details without overdoing the color. And Tom, you did a great job kind of balancing that. And that's why, to me, this got the number 5 and, kind of cracking off our top 5 positions. So Tom, very nice job on this. And I think with even more integration time, this could have been a top 3 contender for sure. All right, in our number 4 spot, we have Roman Sadovsky, and this is the Elephant Trunk Nebula, obviously. And this was done with a Sharpstar 76 millimeter and a 2600 mm in obviously SHO palette. And this is one of those ones that's really hard to get this beautiful blend from blues into the yellow greens, into just yellow, into orange, into almost a crimson red down here. And a lot of people really do cut this off because this background area can be very muddled if you don't know how to handle these colors well. And so a lot of people will just frame this in really tight because they don't want to have to deal with that. Roman, you did a really nice job kind of handling this background gas. And I like that you took it all the way to the area where there was actually no gas left. So we go from this area of totally black sky into more of the faint dust and see it build into the elephant trunk and then all the way into the core. So, it keeps, when my eye goes down here, it immediately follows it back in. This negative space here really draws you into the middle, and just the right amount of sharpening. I think if you would have went any further, it would have had kind of that over sharpened look here, but I think you want to really bring out all those fine details, and you did that, especially around the outside here. You can see all those really good details. And obviously with narrowband, if we don't do RGB stars, those are never the star of the show, pun intended. So you did a nice job kind of minimizing and really letting the nebula shine through and really be the main attraction. So that's usually the best thing that you can do with SHO stars. Great job, Roman, in the number 4 position. All right, in number 3, we have a really unique take on the tadpoles. This is by Brian Champion, and this one is a really cool combination. I got some more of the details by reaching out, and it's actually a combination of HA and O3 for red, and then S2, S2. This has over 30 hours of data to get all of this faint wispy nebula in the background, and it's a very unique composition. I've never seen this color combination before. I think Brian kind of came up with it. And it almost looks like it's like frozen, or like this is like ice, just as much as it looks like it's faint dust. But you guys can't see it on your end, but you can zoom in, and the detail on the tadpoles is razor sharp, even though this was shot at 500 millimeters. And that's as a result of, over 30 hours of data. This is just a really, really clean image and a very unique color palette. I know he has the flaming star as well, but didn't have enough time to do the full mosaic. I think if we would have had the flaming star over here and maybe a 4-panel mosaic, it could have been a contender for the top spot, just because sometimes when you go unique with colors or you try something, quote, creative, it doesn't work out. I think this is an example of really going off the beaten path in a totally unique way that really works well. On my end, the ability to zoom in and really see how much detail remains at kind of a shorter focal length is very impressive. So Brian, great job, and congrats on cracking the podium position and being in the top 3. All right, in the number 2 position, we have a beautiful example of Ro Afuki and the Horsehead by Stephen Hamill. This is done with the 2600 MC and the Samyang 135 f2.8. It's a 2-panel mosaic, so 5 hours on each panel. This is a very bright subject, so you don't need a ton of integration time to really make it pop. But great job processing this. It's very difficult to get kind of this faint dust to show without kind of blowing up the brighter parts of this, and the colors are done very well. They're kind of right on that cusp of maybe being oversaturated, but not quite, just like right on that razor edge of being tastefully done. We've got great blues in the horse head up here, and then we see areas of faint dust that are very neutral, as well as some that are infused with some of that reflection and emission gas that's in there. And just a very interesting, very, very visually appealing image, one that you would definitely want to frame and probably throw up somewhere on the wall. But just, very stunning visual image, really clean stars in the nebula. You did a nice job kind of showcasing the stars outside of the nebula, but then really minimizing them in the gas areas where there's a lot of color, which kind of allows the subjects to really stand out and pop out more, but then also keeps the space in the background very visually appealing with all of the pinpoint stars. There's just stuff going on everywhere. We have faint nebula and reflection areas all over, some HA gas over here. As soon as I opened this one up, I knew it was going to be, probably towards the top. And just a great overall image. So congratulations on being number 2. You are in the prize pool, and we'll go over that in a second after we talk about our number 1 image. And drum roll, our number 1 image goes to Jeffrey Horn. This has 98 hours of exposure, guys. So if you put in the effort, there is a return on that. And just so much going on. We have the Pleiades with this great HA gas here. We have, faint dust all over the place. The stars have a ton of color, but aren't blown out. They're really nice with so many great blue and orange stars everywhere. And just so much going on in this image. Your eye just wants to keep bouncing around to different places, and it just wants to keep looking and engaging with it. We've got all this faint dust around here, and I love to see this interplay between the bright reflection nebula into this dust nebula. I've never seen kind of this area look like this. Only feedback, and it was pointed out by Jeff, is that just a little bit blown out here in some of these areas, and so shorter exposures would help that. It looks like we did 480-second exposures with the L Extreme and 240-second exposures with the Bader Fringe Killer. I've never actually used the Bader filter. It's one of the few I've never tried, but maybe go into like 180 or even 120-second exposures for this area. But guys, 98, almost 100 hours. And this one just, boom, it just explodes off the page, but in a way that's very well done. This area is really that bright blue. I mean, it's not oversaturated. The HA is very rich and colorful. And I just love all of the star color and the faint dust. So this was actually done with a TPO ultra wide 180 millimeter f4.5 and a 2600 MC Pro. So guys, it's a very inexpensive, I believe they go for under $1,000. It's a little tiny 180 millimeter travel scope. It's basically just like a little camera lens, and it just shows you don't need to have a $5,000 or $10,000 scope to get great results. If you put in the effort in terms of integration time and in terms of amazing editing, you can get an award-winning result. So Jeffrey, very well deserved. And so you get your choice of either the $250 package from Telescope Live or 3-night stay in New Mexico, Bortle 1. And so you can choose which one that you want, and then second place will get whichever prize is remaining. So I was going to assign it, but because one is a location, if you're not able to get there because of where you live, then we'll work something out between first and second place. And then I'll go over who I'm going to give the honorable effort to when we bounce out of the photo review portion of this and kind of wrap up the video. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for sticking with me through that. The only thing we have left to do is to name the Honorable Effort Award. Now, if you watch the contest kickoff video, the definition of this was the person who put in the most amount of effort or a lot of effort in terms of integration time or going to a dark sky site or doing something difficult to achieve it, but because of their processing, maybe felt short of a top spot. So the data was there, the effort was there, but they just need a little bit of help in terms of processing, because the prize is a one-on-one tutorial with me for 2 hours. And so what I was thinking in my head was me being able to help a beginner, somebody that, really tried hard, but, it just wasn't there in terms of processing. None of the images I got were beginner level processing. So that was really tough. And the person who had the most effort, it was by a landslide, Jesus Hernandez, with his entire Cygnus 16 panel mosaic in 250 hours. He clearly knows how to process. He was 6th overall, so he was top 10, nearly top 5, so did very well in the contest. So Jesus, to be a man of my word, if you would like a tutorial with me, I would be happy to sit down and maybe give you my take, and we could take this data and maybe transform it and see what we get. But I did come up with a backup person. If you are like, hey, I got it, this is my style, I like it. I also saw a gentleman by the name of James Glucksman, and he has an Eta Carinae example that's actually pretty good. It's got about 20 hours of data, and in terms of effort, it took him, he said, over a month to get. But I think there's actually a lot hiding in this image, because when we look at Rodrigo's image with much less data, I think Rodrigo had, it's just 7 hours, so about a third the data, we can see how much he was able to bring out. So I'm curious, I think, James, if we work together, we can get a lot more out of this image. What you have is good, but I just think there's a lot more hiding, and I know you went through a lot of effort to get this data. So I will either give you guys both like an hour and a half or 2 hours each, or Jesus, if you're not interested, no hard feelings. So just shoot me an email and let me know, guys. The whole purpose of this was just to let people showcase their work and to help us all improve. Whether you entered or not, you got a chance to see what some real world gear is doing out there from individuals that are using it, other amateur astrophotographers. So you got to learn from that. You got to kind of see visually where you'd stack up. You can evaluate kind of where you think you would fit in. You also get to give me some feedback. And if you didn't like what I said about your image, feel free to razz me in the comments. And then we got to give away some nice prizes from the partners of this channel, and I get to give back personally. And that's what this community is all about. And so, guys, more than ever, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to a great 2024 and to continue this journey with all you guys. And make sure you comment. I know that probably most people are not watching this. YouTube destroys these types of videos in the algorithm. If I'm not talking about a gear review or a processing tutorial, for some reason, nobody ends up watching it. But that's okay, because I know the people that watch these types of videos, like the one when we hit 1,000, the contest announcement, and this one, you guys are the real fans of the channel. You guys are the ones that are really supporting. And so more than ever, I mean this, thank you so much for being a part of Dark Rangers Inc. And as always, clear skies.